Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I continue to bring you the story of Tu Tien and Jack. In the previous episode, after many months of relentless effort and lingering pain that had yet to fully fade, Tu Tien and Jack finally made an extremely important decision, one they had carefully considered and placed all their hopes into, undergoing IVF to find their chance at becoming parents again. This was not merely a medical choice, but a journey of faith, perseverance, and the dreams they had never given up on. They went through each stage with a wide range of emotions, from the anxious moments of waiting for results, the nervousness when facing each medical indicator, to the quiet times when all they could do was hold each other's hands for reassurance. All of it blended into an unforgettable journey. And then, the most important moment finally arrived, when the embryo was successfully transferred into Tu Tien's body. It was a moment where words were no longer needed. They simply looked at each other, their eyes filled with hope, as if a new door had just opened before them. Not only did Jack stay by her side at all times, but Mrs. Loi also devoted her full care and attention to Tu Tien. Every meal, every moment of rest, every gentle reminder reflected her anticipation, her hope, and the boundless love she had for her daughter-in-law. In their small home, the atmosphere seemed to change, warmer, calmer, as if everything was quietly moving towards something beautiful yet to come. As the early days of pregnancy began, Tu Tien found herself in a state that was difficult to define, a mixture of happiness and anxiety. The joy of knowing that a small life was growing inside her filled her heart with emotion. But at the same time, memories of the past and the losses she had endured made it impossible for her to feel completely at ease. The first 3 months were the most critical and sensitive period, and because she understood that well, she did not allow herself even the slightest carelessness. Every small change in her body was enough to make her think deeply. Some days, just a fleeting sense of fatigue, a slight dizziness, or an unexplained discomfort could keep her restless the entire day. She listened to her body more carefully than ever before, paying attention to every sign and every feeling, as if even a moment of neglect could cost her something incredibly precious. As a result, everything around her seemed to slow down. Life adjusted itself to match her new rhythm. Her steps became gentler, her actions more cautious, all directed toward a single goal, keeping everything stable and safe. Even in her thoughts, she tried to remain calm and avoid anxiety, though that was not always easy. Jack understood what Tu Tien was going through better than anyone else. He didn't just notice the changes on the outside, he could also feel the quiet worries inside her. From being someone who stood beside her to encourage her, he now became a strong pillar of support, someone who actively cared for every small detail of her daily life. He began rearranging his work, trying to finish everything earlier so he could return home as soon as possible. Long trips were reduced, unnecessary meetings declined, all just to spend more time with Tu Tien. For him, nothing was more important than being by her side during this time. Every day, he patiently reminded her to eat on time, to rest properly, and not to overthink. Those simple reminders were repeated with genuine care. He paid attention to every meal, every moment of rest, always trying to create a comfortable environment so she could feel at ease. Not stopping at words, Jack also took on all the household responsibilities. From the smallest tasks like bringing her water, preparing meals, cleaning the living space, to more time-consuming duties, he handled everything himself without complaint. It wasn't that Tu Tien couldn't do them, it was that he wanted her to have the fullest rest possible. This care was not loud or showy, but it existed in every small action each day. It made Tu Tien feel more secure, more grounded, as if no matter what uncertainties lay ahead, at least in the present, she had someone who would always stand by her, walking with her through each day with quiet hope. And within those seemingly calm days, as everything gradually settled into a rhythm of care and waiting, Tu Tien's pregnancy journey also began to enter a stage of more noticeable changes, a journey where each passing day carried its own emotions, anticipation, nervousness, and a deep sense of caution to protect the precious life that the entire family had placed their hopes upon. Mrs. Loi became even more careful. After everything the family had gone through together, after months of hope mixed with quiet anxiety, this pregnancy was no longer just a source of joy for her, it was something deeply precious that she cherished in every thought. From the moment she learned that Tu Tien was pregnant, her daily life seemed to shift into a new rhythm, slower, more attentive, with everything revolving around taking the best possible care of Tu Tien. She spent a great deal of time learning about foods suitable for pregnant women, memorizing which dishes were good for health and how to prepare them in a way that was both nutritious and easy to eat. Each meal was no longer just about cooking, it became a heartfelt preparation. From selecting fresh ingredients to carefully seasoning each dish, everything was done with meticulous care. She made sure to vary the menu daily so Tu Tien wouldn't get tired of the food, while still ensuring a balanced and nourishing diet to help her body remain stable during this sensitive period. Beyond meals, Mrs. Loi constantly reminded Tu Tien to take care of her health in even the smallest things. Those reminders, repeated day after day, might have sounded simple, but they carried so much concern and love. She wouldn't allow Tu Tien to do anything physically demanding, and even light tasks like sweeping the floor or washing dishes were strictly forbidden. Whenever she saw Tu Tien trying to get up to do something, she would quickly stop her, gently, yet firmly, as if even a little extra effort might make her uneasy. In Mrs. Loi's eyes, Tu Tien was no longer just a future daughter-in-law, but the one carrying the greatest hope of the entire family. Her care became deeper, more thoughtful, and at times even tinged with a quiet sense of worry. She didn't say much, but through her actions and her gaze, it was clear that she had placed immense hope in this journey. At times, amid such attentive care, Tu Tien felt as though she was being cared for a little too much. Not because she didn't appreciate it, but because she had always been used to doing things on her own, being independent in her daily life. So when nearly everything was done for her, she sometimes felt shy, even slightly unaccustomed. There were moments when she smiled gently, trying to reassure both Jack and Mrs. Loi that she was fine, that she was healthy, and that she could still handle a few simple household tasks. Her voice was soft, carrying a desire to share the workload and to feel that she still had some control over her daily life. But each time, the response she received was almost always the same. Jack would be the first to speak, his tone gentle but firm. He didn't dismiss her feelings, nor did he sound overly tense. He simply explained that the first 3 months were extremely important, and that it was best to be as careful as possible. He wanted her to understand that resting didn't mean becoming dependent, but rather protecting what mattered most at that moment. As for Mrs. Loi, although her tone was slightly more serious, it was still filled with undeniable love. She kept reminding Tu Tien not to be careless, that everything was still in its early stage, and that being extra cautious was never unnecessary. Her words were not controlling, they were the honest concern of someone who had lived through enough to understand the importance of care. During the early stages of pregnancy, Tu Tien's body also began to show more noticeable changes. She experienced mild morning sickness, not too severe, but enough to affect her daily routine. Some days, she didn't feel like eating anything at all. The sense of nausea made even the smell of food uncomfortable. Yet at other times, she would crave only certain dishes, and beyond those, she couldn't eat anything else. These unpredictable changes made eating more difficult, but Jack never showed impatience or frustration. Instead, he became even more patient, paying attention to her small preferences at every meal. He would ask her multiple times a day, trying to find something she could comfortably eat. Sometimes, just from a casual remark about craving a certain dish, Jack would immediately go out to find it. Whether under the midday sun or late at night, he never hesitated to go, never complained about the effort, he only wanted her to be able to eat at least a little. For him, seeing her eat even a small amount was enough to bring him a sense of relief. That patience didn't need to be spoken, it was clearly shown through his actions. Even in her tired state, Tu Tien could feel the sincerity of his care. Gradually, the atmosphere in their small home began to change day by day. Conversations no longer revolved around past worries, but shifted towards something lighter, warmer. Every topic, every word, in one way or another, began to revolve around the baby, even though the baby was still so small, not yet truly tangible. It had already taken shape in everyone's thoughts. From time to time, Mrs. Loi would talk about how she would care for the child in the future, what she would prepare to welcome a new family member. Her words were simple, but full of anticipation, as if she could already picture that near future. Jack, meanwhile, sometimes found himself imagining simple moments, holding his child in his arms, or watching the baby sleep peacefully. There were times when he would smile to himself, as if those images had already become vivid in his mind. As for Tu Tien, although the worries in her heart had not completely disappeared, whenever she saw the care from Jack and Mrs. Loi, she felt a warmth that reassured her. It wasn't loud or overwhelming, but it was enough to make her feel steady, as if she no longer had to face this journey alone. And during those days, when everything seemed to be gently wrapped in love and care, Tu Tien gradually learned to relax, to slow down, and to move forward together with everyone, with a quiet but growing sense of faith in the days ahead. However, alongside the joy that was gradually spreading through every moment of their lives, a quiet fear still lingered, something hard to name, yet impossible to ignore. After everything that had happened in the past, after the loss that had once shattered her heart, Tu Tien could not easily let herself relax, nor could she allow herself to feel completely at ease as if everything were truly stable. Even though the present was filled with hope, old memories would still return from time to time, gently slipping into her thoughts, just enough to make her heart grow heavy. Because of that, Tu Tien became more careful in even the smallest of actions. Every step she took slowed down, softer and more deliberate, as if she were constantly reminding herself to protect everything with the utmost care. Things that once seemed ordinary now required more thought, no longer done with the same ease or carelessness as before. Even in her thoughts, she tried to control herself, holding back negative emotions and reminding herself to stay calm, to trust the journey she was on. But no matter how hard she tried, there were still moments when her emotions became difficult to control. There were nights when everything around her had fallen into silence, when the familiar sounds of the day had faded away, and she lay there, restless with her own thoughts. The soft light in the room and the quiet space only made her inner feelings more vivid. In those moments, her hand would unconsciously rest on her belly, like a natural reflex, as if searching for reassurance. She didn't say anything, didn't do anything obvious, she simply felt, quietly, as if trying to connect with something fragile yet sacred. It was not an outward expression of fear, but a deep, silent emotion that carried both anticipation and unease. Jack was always there beside her during those times. He didn't need to ask many questions, nor did he need complicated words. Just by looking into her eyes, he understood what she was thinking. He would gently hold her hand, giving it a light squeeze as a way to pass on warmth and reassurance. His voice was low and steady, never rushed, just simple words to comfort her, reminding her that everything was still okay, that they had already overcome so much together, and that this time would be different. Those words were not absolute promises, but they were enough to help Tu Tien feel calmer. Not because her worries disappeared, but because she knew she was not facing everything alone. Beside her was always Jack, always Mrs. Loi, and a growing presence of love and anticipation that deepened with each passing day. Time passed slowly. No longer rushed, no longer slipping by unnoticed, each day, each week now felt clear and meaningful. Every passing day carried a little hope, a little anticipation, and emotions that were sometimes hard to put into words. The first 3 months, though filled with the most worry, somehow became a time that brought the three of them closer than ever before. There was no need for grand gestures, just shared meals, small daily conversations, quiet glances of care, all of it forming a connection that felt natural yet deeply strong. In that home, everything seemed to change in a gentle way. No longer just ordinary days, but days filled with care, with small actions full of meaning, and with a growing sense of faith nurtured through each moment. Each member of the family had their own way of expressing their anticipation. Jack showed it through his quiet but steady care, always present, never letting Tu Tien face anything alone. Mrs. Loi showed it through her attentiveness in every small detail, always wanting everything to be as safe and perfect as possible. And Tu Tien showed it through her patience and effort each day. Despite her worries, she still chose to believe. The journey ahead was still long, and no one could be certain that there wouldn't be challenges waiting. But what mattered most was not what had yet to come, but how they were moving forward together. As long as they remained by each other's side, as long as they held on to one another, any difficulty would no longer feel as frightening. For Jack, Tu Tien, and Mrs. Loi, what they were holding on to was not just hope, but also faith in their togetherness, a quiet faith, not loudly spoken, yet strong enough to carry them forward step by step, slowly but surely. And as the first 3 months gradually came to an end, a new chapter was beginning to unfold, one filled with unknowns, yet also with anticipation. The coming months of the pregnancy would bring more changes, new emotions, and challenges that they would have to face together. Will Tu Tien be able to maintain her health throughout this journey? Will her worries gradually be replaced by true peace of mind? And will the hope that the whole family cherishes lead to a complete and fulfilling ending? Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode to continue following the emotional journey of Tu Tien, Jack, and Mrs. Loi, where every moment carries genuine and meaningful emotions.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình nhé. Nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến video về câu chuyện của Tiểu Tiên và Jack. Thì trong câu chuyện hôm nay thì Tiểu Tiên và Jack đã có một cái hành trình phải nói là khá là quan trọng trong cái hành trình yêu thương của họ, là khi họ đã chấp nhận làm IVF, tức là can thiệp khoa học và y tế để có thể mang thai. Thì cuối cùng thì Tiểu Tiên cũng đã có thể là mẹ, và trong bụng cô đang mang một sinh linh nhỏ. Vậy thì liệu hành trình mang thai của Tiểu Tiên và Jack có thuận lợi để sinh ra em bé hay không? Và Tiểu Tiên đã được chăm sóc rất là cẩn thận trong quá trình mang thai, và sự chăm sóc của mẹ nội cũng như là sự chăm sóc của Jack. Vậy thì liệu diễn biến câu chuyện tiếp theo sẽ như thế nào thì mình mời mọi người đăng ký kênh của mình để đón xem những tập tiếp theo vào ngày mai và những tập sau đó nữa nhé. Cảm ơn mọi người rất nhiều. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người trong những video sau.